So representatives represent us on the local, state, and federal side.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Very
And
good.
guess what? Brad Jensen with the San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership is here with us today, so we can talk about some of the events and some of the legislation groups, or what is it, like not a party, but what is it?
Yes, I work for the San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership. I handle all their public policy. So what I really do is maintain our relationships with our state and local government officials. These are people who are in the state legislature, the county supervisors, and in Congress.
So what does the partnership do? I know that's kind of the term for your,
Right.
the shorter term for the long name of your group.
Well, the partnership was started about 25 years ago. It's a business organization that covers eastern Los Angeles County. It basically covers from Pasadena out to Pomona, and it was started by several cities here in the valley who were concerned that they weren't getting their fair share of resources for economic development here in the eastern side of the county. One of the things we say about the San Gabriel Valley is that we're far from God and too close to LA. And so this is one of the key things that we do is we try to help advocate for our fair share of resources, but also try to improve the economic environment here locally. And so we're basically a consortium of businesses, higher education, and local governments to try to work together to improve the quality of life here.
So what are some of the initiatives or some of the things that you've been working on lately?
Events, yeah.
Yes, well, one of our big ones this year is we always have a legislative reception. This is where we bring several of our local elected officials to meet with our business representatives. It's a very, very large event. This year will be on March 24th at Miller Coors in Irwindale, which is one of the large breweries on the 210 freeway. But we also hold regular monthly events. We have breakfast with our local legislative with state legislators and county supervisors.
What do you guys talk about when you get together? It's just, is there an open discussion?
They're very small events. It's about 30 people in the room, and we typically talk about what's going on in Sacramento, what's going on in Washington, D.C., or things that are going on here in L.A. County. We talk about their bills and the packages that they're carrying, what is going on at the state level, new taxes that may be on the horizon. It's basically a smorgasbord of the best political news that's going on right now.
So do you see the partnership affecting any change within politics?
We hope so. We certainly want to maintain the relationships we have. That's one of the key things for business leaders. If you're not at the table, you might be at the menu. So you want to have an ongoing working relationship so you can have someone to call should a problem arise. One of the key things we're working on right now is trying to get regulatory reform, which is really key in California, especially to allow for new housing to be constructed.
Or what other subjects are they brought up on a local level, like minimum wage? Because that affects really, the local and the state as well.
There has been some concern about minimum wage. I think many people in the state of California and across the country, as we see with Senator Sanders' campaign, is very concerned about wage stagnation, that people are continuing to work, but their salaries are not growing. And so there has been an effort across the state of California to raise the minimum wage up to $15 an hour. This has been a bit of a patchwork. The city of LA raised their wage, and then the LA County, and then the city of Pasadena recently. And now there's a ballot initiative that could come up in November to raise it up to $15 and then tie it to inflation. So that's something we're working on to make sure that we still have a good environment for our small businesses to be competitive as far as their wages.
Yeah, that could be tough on a guy that's got a small business and he's just selling onesies and twosies of things.
Absolutely.
Well, and wages, will they ever meet what it costs for a home in California, though?
That's one of the key things, and if you look at the other states here in the Union, places like Tennessee, Texas, North Carolina, Utah, Arizona, the key difference is the cost of housing.
Oh, right.
And that's what makes it so much more affordable. Recently, Toyota relocated their headquarters out of Torrance, and before leaving, they did a number of focus groups with their employees, and the key thing that they realized was people were willing to move if they could pay less for housing. So they could relocate the company and still pay their employees the same wages, and yet their money could go so much farther because they could buy 3 or 4 times the housing accommodations they had in Houston as they had in Long Beach.
Well, I mean, I was always brought up on, working at, and no offense, McDonald's or fast food for that matter, was your way through college, or out of high school. So you're not going to retire working at McDonald's. You know,
Right.
it's kind of tough when you think about it. And people, you know, that's what they're thriving to. Okay, let's, you know, go work at McDonald's for 5, 10, 15 years.
Right.
I think that's good for people at a high school and, you know, getting through college. It's okay, but to do that full time, man, that's kind of tough.
You raise a
and
great
how are you
point.
going to make that?
You raise a great point, and that's our economy is really transitioning. If you remember back in World War II, we talk about Rosie the Riveter, women who typically didn't have college educations. Not many people had college educations during that time, and they went, you know, right onto the factory line, building airplanes and tanks and doing those types of things.
And they were dumped as soon as the war was over,
Well,
their jobs were over.
and that's really a transition in the economy, but you can see how easy it is to take people who have maybe a low level of education or skills and plug them right into the workforce. That's not the case anymore today. And typically people end up having a massive amount of student loan debt once they're out of their college years. And so that's one of the transitions, is how do we bring back high-paying jobs here locally to the San Gabriel Valley? And that's what we work on.
That's kind of tough. Boy, I'd love to help work on that one.
I know. Brad Jensen, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And
That's
come back
great.
and give us some more information about what the partnership's doing in the future.
That would be awesome. Love to hear about that.
Thank you.
And coming up next, we have the ins and outs of loans for mortgages.
I know. Get ready to buy your house with Celeste.